I'll explain it.
Great minds.
I got at least four. Cancel one meeting.
All right, the time is now 5:33. We will call to order the meeting for the City of Statesboro Mayor and Council. The date is now January the 17th, 2023. And we have our invocation and pledge of allegiance by Councilmember Paulette Shea.
Let's bow. Lord, make us an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. In your name, Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll move into agenda item 3, recognitions and public presentations. Agenda item 3A is a presentation of a retirement award to Alan Washington with the wastewater treatment plant, who was retiring effective February the 1st, 2023, after 32 years of service. Alan, if you will come forward. You have to stand at the podium. We want to recognize Alan as following. Alan began his career with the City of Statesboro on March 30th, 1990 as a treatment plant worker. He quickly obtained his CDL license and for many years hauled all solid waste sludge from the wastewater treatment plant to the landfill in Campbell County. When the city began contracting all solid waste hauling to outside landfills, Allen transitioned into the WWTP operation position, which requires a Class 3 state wastewater license. This license exam is very difficult, and after many attempts and years of study hours and dedication, Allen obtained his Class 3 license in March of 2010. Throughout his 32 years with the city, Allen has shown his love for showing up to work and performing tasks that other operators dislike. He especially loved cutting grass and keeping the landscape in top condition. He always kept a great attitude, high work ethic, and was always a positive influence on others. He took pride in his attendance record, rarely using any sick time throughout his employment, and would donate time when others were in need. Allen will be greatly missed as a co-worker and as a member of our second family at the water waste treatment plant. We are grateful for his service to the city of Statesboro and wish him a long and happy retirement. Allen, thank you and congratulations. Just so that you know, your reputation precedes you, and you are loved by the city, okay?
Now we have family here.
Family members with you? No, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Payne, this is yours. Okay, here we go. All right, you hold that. We're gonna shake hands. You got it? Okay. Okay. She good at telling us what to do.
That pose. One more.
Yeah, that's hurting like.
Okay.
All right, good. Congratulations and God bless you.
Yeah, we're gonna get it for
Yeah, I guess.
any of his,
Congratulations.
Hey, Sherry, what are you doing in the back? All right. We need to talk about
Congratulations.
every time. Every time.
Councilman, you step like yep. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Can you put the award down like just a little bit? It's catching the light reflection. Yep. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
hold on, Alan. Then we're gonna have some of your co-workers come up.
Okay. Hey, bring it on. Come on, my coworkers, come on.
Congratulations.
Hey, how you doing?
Okay, so as soon as they finish, you can take the picture. Yeah, any of the family members here?
You're in the back row. Yeah, the middle back row. Front row since middle school. I've been in the back row since, yeah, I'm in the back row. What about?
Oh, you just. If you can't see me, I can't see you. Steve. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, in the back.
Carhartt hat just a little bit. Yep, right there. Steve, you're hiding.
Steve,
Right.
Steve.
Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Alan, you gotta be doing something to keep hearing you up there. Okay, Mario. Hold on, Alan. We got one more. Family member.
All right, ready, 1, 2, 3. One, two, three. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and you sweat. Why you sweat? You nervous? I'm good. We got another presentation.
All right. We'll move down to agenda item 3B. I will say this, it is always a great opportunity to celebrate someone that's dedicated so much to this organization and to this community. 32 years is a long time, and this is truly a good man, so we definitely want to continue to celebrate Alan. We do want to go down to item 3B, which is a presentation of an award to the city of Statesboro for the Georgia Initiative for Community Housing, received from the Department of Community Affairs. I do want to say a little bit before we do this. Kathy, Jermaine, Charles, if y'all go ahead and come on up. This is a big deal for the city of Statesboro. Being a part of the Georgia Initiative for Community Housing is really pushing our city forward when it comes to not just looking at new spaces, looking at our older areas and providing resources and expertise and how to best utilize those areas while introducing resources into those areas as well. And when this idea came before the council and the council passed it, the staff jumped directly into this and immediately began to work to move our city forward. I don't think we were in the Georgia Initiative Community Housing Program for a year when the city actually received the Georgia Municipal Association Visionary City Award. So this is a big deal. Thank you for all the work that you're doing, going in and out of the neighborhoods, making sure that our children have clean places to live, good housing for family. So we want to thank you guys for all that you're doing to make our community better. So thank you so much.
Is there anyone else here?
No, it's just Justin, Marcus. And Alan, come on, Alan.
Okay.
There we go. And Justin is at the CDBG conference.
You know
So he wouldn't otherwise be here. Really.
Oh, yeah. Those are ones back.
So Alan, you're gonna come to the other side. Marcus, you good?
I recommend GMA. It could be like 3 hours.
And y'all can come on down, you're gonna take one.
Okay, everybody ready? 1, 2, 3. One more, 1, 2, 3.
I promise I'll blink every time she flashes. 3. Don't move. Okay. Count to say I count. Yeah.
All people there.
Where you want me?
Yeah, just like that.
Or would she be okay over here?
Or that works, yeah, maybe on that side.
Shoulder to
Y'all
shoulder.
notice that my good side?
That's not your good side. Look fine.
Ready, 1, 2, 3. One more, 1, 2, 3. Okay.
So, 1, 2, 3. One more. Good? We good? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you all very much.
Thank y'all.
You want, you can stand up here if you like.
All right, we'll move down to agenda item 4, public comments. Leah, do we have anybody signed up for public comment?
No, Mayor.
Okay. All right, we'll move down to agenda item 5, consideration of a motion to approve. There's gonna be another public section, so we're gonna get it, you guys. Consideration of a motion to approve the consent agenda. Yeah, we're gonna just go do A and B. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those, any opposed? All right, seeing that there's none, we'll go down to agenda item 6, public hearing and consideration of a motion to approve application RZ 22-10-3. Dominic Spencer requests a zoning map amendment from the R15 HOC, single-family residential highway oriented commercial zoning district to R4 high-density residential zoning district at 506 West Miller Street. Is there a motion to open this public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Kathy, can you give us some insight on this, please?
Mayor, just real quick, just for the record, Charles, resolution 23-01, no changes to the fees year over year?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. The applicant requests a zoning map amendment to the R4 high-density residential zoning district in order to place a multifamily housing complex on Miller Street Extension. Specifically, the applicant is seeking to construct a development of affordable housing utilizing DCA funding in response to significant cost increases in the construction industry across the state. This proposal is not the first in the area, which appears to signal a desired change of usage in an area traditionally reserved for industrial uses. And you can see the parcel, and in the middle of that parcel, you'll see that there is an existing home that will remain in place. So this development will literally be around this, it's a 2-unit rental unit at the moment, okay? And you can see the future land use map shows this to be in an established residential neighborhood. The current zoning is divided between HOC, highway oriented commercial, and the R15 zoning district. The subject property is shown on the left. It's relatively undeveloped, with the exception of that home. The property to the west is shown on the bottom right. The property to the north is shown on the top left. And the property to the northwest is shown on the bottom right. Staff does recommend approval of RZ 22-10-03. If this petition is approved by the mayor and city council, it should be subject to the applicant's agreement to the following enumerated conditions. 1, approval of the zoning map amendment does not grant the right to develop on the property. All construction must be reviewed and approved by the city. 2, buffering in accordance with Article 23 of the Statesboro zoning ordinance must be installed to screen the existing structure on the site from the proposed development. At the regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission on Tuesday, January 23rd, 2023, the Commission recommended approval of the zoning map amendment and conditions with a 6-0 vote. Thank you, that is my presentation.
All right. Thank you. All right. Is there anyone here to speak for this request?
Hey, good evening. I'm George Tullis with Pivotal Housing Partners. and I'm the developer for this particular project. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for considering this. We look forward to working with the community. I'm here to answer any questions you have relative to the project. I brought some boards if you would like to see some colored pictures of sort of what we would like to do on this property. Of course, working with city staff, we want to, everything is sort of malleable. We can make changes as necessary. And I'm here to answer any questions. I also have our civil engineer, CJ Chance is here with Hussey Gay. So he's here if you have any technical questions that I can't answer for you. I'm certainly not an engineer.
Okay, and so there's gonna be an opportunity for council discussion. I'm quite sure they're gonna wanna have a little more in-depth conversation with you. So just hang around a little bit and then we'll get to that space.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay, very good. All right, is there anyone here to speak against this request? Okay, all right, seeing that there is none, is there a motion to close the hearing? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll open it up for council discussion. Come on.
Is this
Okay.
a subsidized housing? Is that what you said?
Say again?
Is this subsidized tax incentive housing or is this market rate housing?
It's low and moderate income housing, correct. Using the 4% tax credit. We'll use bonds to finance construction. Come around. Let's give you an idea of the layout that we've been working on with city staff. Can I do this? Is this okay?
Yeah, that's
I'm not
fine.
gonna show y'all.
We're not gonna buy.
You can hold it and pass it around if you'd like.
Yeah, no, but,
Pretty easy, but sort of see conceptual. I know it was mentioned about the home, there is a home here that is rented. We would buffer that, we show that here. Of course, anytime you have it in a conceptual chart, it can be.
show it to the people.
There you go. I'm just glad y'all aren't here against me tonight. Thank you. This is a wonderful elevation of what we would like to do. And we also have one that's a little more sort of city urban style that would be a flat roof. So I did not print that up for you tonight because I think this is more suitable to the community. But I will certainly work with the city to decide what actually gets done. I know that features and amenities are very important. I'll kill two birds with one stone here. In my left hand are sort of the interiors and finishes. And then this would be some sort of combination of the exterior finishes, whether it be brick and stone, and then any other colors. We use hardy plank siding. We don't use any vinyl. So it'll be built to last over here because this is not too far from coastal Georgia. And then lastly, I went ahead and showed you on some of our other projects what we have done and what we intend to do here would be a host of amenities. Dog park, lots of greenscaping, community garden, playground for children. I don't know if y'all can see that. It's 168 units, combination of 1s, 2s, and 3 bedrooms. So 48 1 bedrooms, 84 2 bedrooms, and 36 3 bedrooms. So a nice combination.
All right, thank you. And we want to open up for any further council discussion.
How many parking spaces are in that, do you know?
Yeah, I probably do know if I can read this. It'll be consistent with the city's ordinance, obviously.
Right.
I believe right now, 341, excuse me,
Well,
342.
340,
341 is required, 342 is what we're providing.
I mean, I was just looking at the site plan, the parking lot seems quite large. I'm just curious from a city perspective, does it have to be that big? I mean, it's just, it addresses Councilwoman Barr's concern, about environment, things like that. And the bigger the parking lot, the bigger the runoff, the bigger. So I'm just curious, I'm not necessarily asking the developer, I'm kind of asking staff.
Again, it's within the standards, and we can work with them when we get to that point. Because everything that you see is a concept.
Correct.
And tonight really is about the zoning, and as we get there, we can deal more with with those treatments.
Yes, sir.
To address that concern.
Yes, sir.
Well, it just may, with Kathy working on the, budget UDC, those discussions, especially when we're gonna be seeing more of these type of requests, maybe the parking lot don't need to be so darn big. And not that you guys would complain.
One thing I might mention to you, though, is as you look at the site plan, it is somewhat hidden from the roadway. You have wetlands area here, so we've got quite a buffer there over the back.
And I think to CJ Chance with Hussey Bell, to answer Councilman Williams' question, it does meet the requirements of the city of Statesboro. That's the way that we did the concept.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
like I said, the question wasn't for you guys, I'm
Yeah.
sure you met the requirements. My question was to staff, are our requirements a bit excessive, because that seems like a lot of concrete.
Gotcha.
Or a lot of asphalt, I guess you'd say.
Right.
Again, as we deal more with the development of the zoning ordinance, we can look at that. But one of the things we also want to make sure is we don't have these developments, and then folks don't have a place to park, because they get even more agitated when they don't have adequate parking. But there are ways to do parking that might not be so much asphalt. So then we'll look at some of that.
Sure, and again, my concern is that we have a lot of these developments, and a lot of these developments, you see empty parking lots, even at night. And so, it seems to me that, at night, when everybody's supposed to be home, you still have sizable empty parking lots. That means we're building our parking lots too big. So, just a thought, again, you guys, I appreciate it, I'm sure you did everything
Just
else.
conversation.
Council.
Oh, it's wonderful conversation.
Well, we're doing the UDC, so it only makes sense to talk about it.
So today we're here for a zoning map amendment. So is there any discussion from council?
I have a question.
Okay.
On that board, is that a house right there? You said that's someone's residence?
It is actually a 2-unit home, I believe, but I don't know if both sides are rented.
Okay. I just was curious on how they felt about this.
Well, we actually
Like right in their backyard.
we actually attempted to buy it, and they were willing to sell us the small. It's about a 0.29 acre piece, and they were perfectly willing to sell it. We just couldn't come to a contract agreement, not over price, but over some other things. And so they're supportive. They understand what's coming behind there, and we just weren't able to purchase it.
Okay.
Any further discussion by council?
As you reminded us, we're here to vote on the idea of do we want to allow this multifamily housing in here, and we certainly need it, and it looks like you got a really good concept. I know CJ keeps up, and he'll make recommendations about possible permeable pavement, all those kind of good things that the city's very open to and trying to do more of as we move forward. But yeah, thank you for the presentation. We definitely will vote out there.
Thank you. All right, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. guys.
Thank you all very much.
All right, we'll move down to agenda item 7, which is a public hearing, consideration of a motion to approve application RAN 22-12-01, Leaving Franklin requests annexation of a property adjacent to Beasley Road in order to develop a single-family attached subdivision on approximately 41 acres. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, Kathy, if you'll give us some insight on this matter.
Yes, sir. The applicant requests annexation of approximately 41 acres of property located on Beasley Road. Currently, this property is a large undeveloped lot to the south of Jones Mill Road. This area is currently surrounded by a mixture of large lot single-family homes in the county and smaller single-family homes in the city, specifically Bel Air Estates. The existing area is currently not outlined in the city comprehensive plan and has no established character area. Upon annexation, this area would require the assignment of a character area in the comprehensive plan. In addition, as per Article 23, Section 2207, Article 22, Section 2207 of the Statesboro zoning ordinance, areas annexed into the city have a default zoning of R40 until classified otherwise. And here is the site outlined in red on Beasley Road, 41 acres. Get to my next page here. And you can see an outline of the site plan there. The subject property is shown on the top left. The property to the west is shown on the bottom right. More property to the west is shown on the top left. And property to the north is shown on the bottom right. Staff does recommend approval of AN 22-12-01. At the regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission on January 3rd, 2023, the Commission recommended denial of the application with a 4-2 vote. However, as noted earlier in the work session, this decision is not under the purview of the Planning Commission. That is my presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Okay. We want to have some insight from our city manager on that.
Mayor and members of the council, I just want to ask a question to Ms. Fields' point and to our city attorney's point earlier. Annexations, there's been a practice in Statesboro, but if you remember from the work session and when city attorney pointed out, annexations are not required to go to the planning board. That has been a practice. However, in Statesboro, but it's not a required, they have no statutory authority. And so I guess when I'm asking for the council, is this the way you want annexations to be handled versus, because no action can actually be taken on this property until you decide whether you're gonna annex it. And if you decide that you're gonna annex it, then it would go to the planning board for them to then look at the zoning request. My professional recommendation to you is that it's a process that when there's no controversy, it's probably not an issue for the planning board. But when there's controversy, it probably puts the planning board that typically deals with zoning matters in somewhat of an awkward position. My professional recommendation would be in the line of recommending to you that staff do a staff report, that we would then, for annexations, that we would then present to you with a recommendation as to whether it should be annexed or should not be annexed. And in this case, again, this is a voluntary application for annexation. But I guess my first question for the council is, do you want to send these to the planning board, or would you just like for them to come to the council? Because council has an ultimate decision on the annexation.
I'll lend my opinion first, and then, of course, we'll always, defer to council. My opinion is simple, is that that's not the space for this, the planning commission, that is not the space for it. And it does put them in a bad position, and we're the ones that's responsible for that. And so I recognize that it's been a practice in the past, but I believe that the people have elected us to be responsible for annexation projects for the city. So I believe that, annexation should come towards us, but I'll turn it over to the council. And of course, whatever direction council goes in, that's the direction we go. Don't everybody jump in at one time.
I mean, why is it the practice that it goes for P and Z now?
It's just been done that way. But again, in other cases, again, when we're dealing with voluntary annexations, typically they're not controversial. What has also been the practice is when developers want property annexed or owners want property annexed, it's normally tied to some type of project.
Right.
So what they like to do is to know that there's a recommendation to approve a zoning, but you can't zone property that's not inside the city limits of Statesboro. And so the first step would be, there's a risk for the property owner if they want to have the property inside the city, that's the risk that they have to take, that it becomes a part of the city. And then once it's inside the city, then it's simply sent back to the planning board for zoning to be assigned to that property at that point. That is the space that is really more practical for the planning board.
Well, why, if I may ask, why would we make it more difficult for somebody to annex property into the city? This seems like this is making it more challenging.
For it to just to come to you.
Huh?
For just a,
No, but if somebody wants to annex into the city, right? Like you said, they're not annexing just to annex, they're
Right,
annexing
right.
because they want to develop.
Right.
So why would they annex in if we're not gonna approve their development plan? See what I'm getting at?
They
So
don't-
we're asking them to annex into the city and then go through the planning process, only for them maybe to get denied. And then now that property's in the city, you see what I'm getting at?
annexation doesn't happen unless, that is, we cutting out a step. Instead of them having to go to the planning commission and come to us. Because even if the planning commission approves it, there's no guarantee that the city, that this body is going to say, yes, you're in. So the planning commission can say, yeah, you approve, we approve the zoning, you know, and then it comes to us, and then this body may say, you know, we don't want to annex it in. And so there's a risk either way. What we're doing is saving the property owner that step of going to the planning commission. They can come straight to us and get an understanding of whether or not this property is going to be brought in or not. And then that allows the planning commission to be in its proper role of making sure that the zoning match up for the particular project.
I guess my point is, if you're annexing property into the city, it's not in the master plan. Therefore, it doesn't have the zoning. So my point, okay, if that's how the property owners want to come, if they want to come and annex and then talk about the project later, but my guess is that's not how developers want to operate. They want to know, can I annex because I want to build this?
Right. But again.
You're separating that process.
But again, the property cannot be zoned.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, and there's no guarantee, even if you did, you did have one that came, I can't remember what month, down on, you remember down on Fair Road at 67 and Burkhalter, the property for parking.
Gas station, huh?
That came for annexation and for zoning.
Right.
Okay, but you annexed it first, okay?
Right.
You annexed it first, and then at the same meeting, you zoned it, okay?
Yes.
But there was no obligation, there's no obligation that you were gonna give it that zoning, even though the planning board recommended it.
Yes, okay.
So.
I mean, I understand the
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this from the developer's
Yeah,
standpoint.
the risk is there, we're not eliminating no risk. It's still whether it's annexed and whether the annexation has to come first. And so just because it's annexed, there's no guarantee that the zoning will pass, and there's no guarantee that the annexation will pass. Ultimately, this body is responsible for that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's a given. I understand that. That's the rules of the game. I understand that. That's not what it's okay. Let's just move forward.
All right, we'll yield the floor to Councilwoman
So
Knapp.
for this item on tonight's agenda, is this annexation and zoning or just
This is
annexation?
annexation,
Okay.
just annexation.
But he was saying moving forward.
Yeah, moving
Like-
forward, instead of sending it to the planning commission, just bring the annexation to this body, because this body
Right.
makes the decision. Yeah,
It's great.
Right, yeah, because it's a process.
yeah, and I just don't like the idea of putting our planning commission in that position.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, any further discussion by council? All right. Seeing that there is none, and is there anyone here to speak for this request?
Good evening. A little taller than the last person. My name is Joey Maxwell with Maxwell Reddick and Associates. I'm here tonight on behalf of Mr. Franklin, Lee Franklin, and I also have Robbie Franklin here with me tonight, one of the other property owners, and have Lamar Smith with me, the developer. We are here to answer any questions that you may have with regard to this annexation request or the development. Lamar, would you like to say?
Sure.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, council, staff, thank you very much. I know this is a difficult challenge ahead. We got great news Benji just gave us about economic development, the things that we've been dreaming about our whole life. You know, we all like to go to the ribbon cuttings, but I remember a few years ago, I was in Reedsville where I grew up, and the mayor was having breakfast there at a little table, and he had his grandson with him. And he said, Granddad, he said, Mr. Lamar do? He said, he builds houses for people. The kid was 8 years old. He said, that's a bad business to be in, Granddaddy. He said, why you say that, son? He said, because everybody I know's got a house. But that's not true. Not everybody has a house. And everybody, you know, there are people that are looking for a place to live. Statesboro is in a growing mode. You need new places to build homes. We need water and sewer to do the type of projects we're looking to do. We want to be a good member of this community. We want to build a project that we'd be proud of, that you'd be proud of. And so I'm here to answer your questions.
All right, thank you so much. All right, anybody else to speak for? Okay, anybody here to speak against? Okay. Now, I'm gonna put a pause right here. Now, you gonna speak too?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is it beneficial, who needs to speak first? Because there is a time limit, and there is a pause that says that has to be new information. So are you two gonna be presenting two different pieces of information?
Absolutely.
Okay, good, let's go. State your name, address.
My name is Raymond Anderson. I've lived in Bullock County all my life. I've paid taxes in our city for 62 years. I've lived on this property for 55 years. It adjoins the proposed property. But I want to thank y'all for your service to our city. And I say our city. Many of you know I served many years in the county. And I've served on state boards. But this is our city. And I want us to do the right thing. As I just said, I've lived in my home, me and my wife and family for 55 years. Every home has been added to this community since I've been there. It's been an asset to our community. It's a quiet community, and we just can't ask for no better. But we do not oppose our friends asking for development for this property. It should have been developed long ago. It's right behind my home. So, you know, I wish it had been developed 40 years ago, but it wasn't. But we do oppose what they're proposing. We oppose that, and I'd like to turn around and ask all people here that oppose this project to stand, if they could. Now, the other thing I want to point out is we got 4 homeowners that are standing here that some of them are within their homes now are within 50 feet of this project. 50 feet. And they've been there for years and years. And they, in the audience here, the names are Shields, the Hoods, the Kents, and the Bells. There are 4 families concerned us. Okay? Our Senator Billy Hickman was sworn in last week for his second term. And he made a statement that I picked up on, and I'll try to quote it. He said, "I'll do my best. I will always fight for the hard-working folks in our communities, not the special interest that comes in our community and want to make $1 million on that project. No. In my 26 years of public life, I hope and pray that I have done every time it come before our boards. I hope I've done the right thing, as Billy said. I did my best. And if I didn't know, I got on my knees and prayed. Thank y'all, and God bless each one of you."
God bless you.
Okay. I'm shorter here. I'm Susan Riley, and I live at 211 Timberline Road, which the Bells live across from me. So this property is not my back door, but Miss Bell is an elderly widow, and Miss Kent is an elderly widow, and my neighbors, and they have asked me to be their spokesman along with many of these other folks out here. So I'm going to try. I also thank all of you for your service. I was on the school board myself, elected for 8 years, so I know your job is not easy, and I appreciate it. So we also want to especially thank the City Planning Commission for rejecting this annexation and the subsequent zoning that it entailed. They got the advantage of hearing the entire presentation. Unfortunately, yours has been truncated here, and you are only hearing about the annexation. But as Phil just mentioned, the annexation is based on a development. That presentation that you guys just had, excellent, well thought out. You had something you could vote on tangibly in your hands. Today, you have a blank piece of paper, a blank lot, and some pictures of trees. It doesn't tell you anything about what's going to be had there in all these people's backyards. And I ask that you, as the city council, deserve more. You shouldn't have to vote on something that you have a sketch of, okay? As I said, your planning commission that you appoint, and that is to give you guidance. I don't think they have legal right to I'm not a lawyer, but I'm sure your lawyer could tell us if he has legal right to any kind of motions on anything. So they're there, and as a subcommittee for you, in order to give you guidance and because you have such a wide agenda, they have a very small piece that they're responsible for. And they're to dwell much more detailed into this piece so that they can give you their guidance and give you recommendations, which they did, okay? They listened to all of us very patiently for, 30 and 40 minutes. I was very surprised. But they listened to Joey Maxwell, and they listened to their side, so they got to hear the whole thing, and they gave you their opinion. I respect that, and I hope you do too. So the developer and Mr. Maxwell, and I'm so happy to see one of the owners here today because we didn't have the pleasure of having one of the owners at the other meeting. The way this proposal is written, and the mayor's read it perfectly, it says it is to be annexed to develop a single-family attached subdivision. That's another name for a townhouse, guys. You know, we don't attach. My house is not attached to anybody else's house, except my mom lived in my apartment above my garage until she passed away at 97. But, you know, that is an attached subdivision. They had beautiful slides, they had beautiful plots, they had all this when we saw it. You're not getting that advantage. And this development is not consistent with our current zoning and the City of Statesboro's comprehensive master plan. On page 34 of your packet, Justin did an excellent job of pointing out that this parcel, and Kathy did too, is not even located in an area that was highlighted to be annexed ever by the city. Now, I understand you're under some new, you're going to try some new things and develop new things, but they're not here now. We're voting on this today, not tomorrow, not in the future. Phil also mentioned something in the work session that I thought was excellent. Redevelopment of current city property. There is so much. The old Winn-Dixie parking lot, I mean, there's so much that needs redevelopment. Why is it time today to go out and annex another piece of property, bring it into the city, not know what the heck's going to go on it, and ask you guys to have to vote on it? I think that's unreasonable, quite honestly. So what they proposed was a 6-fold density increase in this property versus the R40. Understandably, if you annex it today, it will not receive that zoning. But the zoning and planning board already heard it, and that's why they said not to annex it. They didn't vote on the zoning because Kathy stood up and said, well, no need to, because if you don't annex it, R2 zoning does not exist in the city. in the county. And so, yes, but the whole reason they didn't annex it was because they didn't believe in this new zoning for this area, okay? So make that very clear. This property was held up by the Bel Air Corporation for many, many decades, owned by the Franklins and the Bobos. It's only understandable if and when the time comes to annex it, that zoning would match the Bel Air zoning, which is R20. That's one house for almost a half an acre, 0.45 to be exact. So, but what they're proposing is R2, and I know this is not a zoning hearing, but you need to know what's on the cards need to be on the table. You know, we don't need to be non-transparent, and I had a nice talk with Sherry, and she thought that that's one good thing that's really solid about this city is your transparency. And I appreciate that as a citizen and a taxpayer as well. So the major objections from this is also it's to be rental property, over 200 rental homes, okay? Our neighborhood is very, very against rental homes there. Rental homes have historic failure to maintain their value, frequently changing property management companies, and the second property management may not be as good as the current ones, and things deteriorate. Look at all the student housing. You know, they turn it over and then boom, it looks like, you know, it needs a painting and it's a mess. The second objective is really the public safety, and that's where I come in. As a nurse practitioner and a healthcare provider in this city for over 30 years, and our office is right on that corner, I have jumped out and been first responders on Beasley Road numerous times myself, okay? I travel that road every day. My kids traveled it back and forth to Statesboro High, to Sally Z, to Mill Creek. It's a very busy road. It's getting busier. It's not up to city standards. It doesn't have sidewalks. So when people walk down that road, they're in the road. When the people that live at recovery houses for Willingway bike, and they're not the best bikers, I'm sorry, as they go down to Willingway, it's at dusk, and I would just roll over in my grave to see one of them hurt, okay? They're doing a noble thing to try to get out and do what's right, and it's just not safe. You guys in September alone approved 550 homes in our area, all that feed into Statesboro High and Statesboro High and Langston Chapel Middle School. When I got your packet today, I was like blown away by the wonderful things that Paulette said and about the community coming together. While I was on the board at the school board, it was a wonderful time. We had Peggy Chapman. We got together every year with the county, the city, the school board. We all had to sit down and go to and break bread together for 2 days and work together. We want that as a community. So we need to think of the bigger picture. We can't just think this 41 acres, let's bring them in, let's put our net over them, and then let's see what happens. That's just not good planning. And that's why your planning commission said no, right? So there's many, many other proposals that have already been approved. The number that you have in the works, we ask that you reevaluate, step back from adding more city property until such a time when all these things can be addressed. It will take time to evaluate all these current developments you already have. Savvy businesswomen and savvy businessmen know that annexation of this land without a clear, specific development plan is unfair for you as council members to be having to vote on that tonight. And it's a bad precedence to set. Do you want people to start running in here now and just ask to be annexed? You know, I own this property, I want it annexed, and not have a plan for it? You might be inheriting a whole lot of mess if that comes up. All right, so that's the main things. Those are our concerns: the rental units, the number, the density, the public safety the potential for accidents. Your own engineer actually stood in this same podium and mentioned how he already anticipated this to be a very, very real issue with public safety. There's only one traffic light, and that's on the corner of Anderson's General Store and Family Healthcare Center. And it doesn't even have a left-hand turn signal, okay? So how are people gonna get in and out of all of this safely without an accident? And we all know that the traffic lights take forever to get approved, and one of the things they look is, how many people have gotten in an accident? I don't want that to be one of my family members or any of my neighbors. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right, is there anyone here to speak for or against? State your name and position.
My name is Sarah Thompson, and I'm actually in that neighborhood as well, but I'm here as a separate bit of testimony.
Okay, are you speaking for or against?
I'm speaking against, Mayor. As I mentioned, my name is Sarah. Whereas I have not lived in Bullock County as long as some of the fine citizens here this evening, my interest in this area through my husband does date back to the mid-1700s, and I am no stranger to the sacrifice required to protect the life, liberty, and property of Americans. As a former military officer and spouse of a career naval officer, I have defended Georgia rights from the federal level most of my life. This includes yours. Today, I come to you as a constitutional advocate and proponent of leading freedom-minded statewide advocacy projects as well. Many citizens have asked, does our opposition matter? Or is our government going to disregard and overstep us and the wise views of our planning board to create potentially new tax base? As citizens, we are here to petition you. We are also here to hold you accountable to some clear provisions in the Georgia Constitution and law, so please bear with me. I stand in defense of life, liberty, and property, and based on what I have seen from the local public sector, it appears that this proposal may seek to harm community stakeholders, us. Also, it appears that government overreach might be involved in just some small ways. Also, maybe even some misrepresentation of some powers to fast-track redevelopment. Additionally, I am certain that everyone is aware that the owner of this property is our new state representative and chairman of the Georgia Automobile Dealers Association, a lobby group seeking to protect franchises and shorten supply chain of vehicles for sale. There were many points made at the last meeting regarding the connection of this redevelopment to the new Hyundai plant. And he is very powerful as a GATA chairman to influence that. To review community stakeholder status, I would like to direct you to the opinion of the Georgia Supreme Court, recently issued in October 2022. This is Veterans versus Henry County. It affirms our standing to invoke judicial standing under conditions of cognizable injury. And that injury need not be individualized. Government at all levels have a legal duty to follow the law. And a local government owes that legal duty to its citizens, residents, taxpayers, or voters. That would be community stakeholders, that's us. I really do recommend reading this case, it's really interesting. The consent of the governed is a fundamental aspect of all government. We are in a covenantal relationship with our government officials, and we don't see much of what you do and with whom you do it behind closed doors. Our life, liberty, and property are sacred. There are a few areas of concern related to the Beasley Road Development Project that I want to highlight to you and urge you to investigate. One, your ability to amend the zoning map for land that was part of the county. I noticed that you did not sign the long-term comprehensive plan, which is by definition a zoning ordinance. Brooklet, Portal, Register, and the county did so by formal resolution in 2019, but you did not. This is not simply a policy document as the county government states on its website. It is, again, a zoning ordinance. The process of amendment being pursued by the county is highly questionable. Your involvement in annexing land and then rezoning, changing it, our land, included in our comprehensive plan is of great concern. A referendum may be needed to do so because it engages redevelopment that is costly to taxpayers. Also regarding constitutional concerns. Number one, Georgia Constitutional Article 9. Don't you love that? It's section 2, paragraph 1 is home rule for counties. You have the ability to adopt clearly reasonable ordinances, resolutions, or regulations relating to our property, county property and affairs, and local government for which no provision has been made by general law. Another fact is no amendment to these things shall be valid if inconsistent with any provision of this Constitution or if there's another provision made in general law. I'm sure you are aware of these things. Your council engages the following issues. One is redevelopment, and it's by definition redevelopment under Georgia Code 3644-3. It involves construction of private housing, expansion of public works and other facilities, telecommunication infrastructure, and expansion of public access and safety matters. Also, there's a major issue of funding. Taxation, maybe even going into debt to do this redevelopment. How you're actually going to do this redevelopment needs to be disclosed to us. No local authority can lend our tax credit or increase our debt without a referendum. It's very important. Part of redevelopment is the planning process. You must tell us how you plan to pay for redevelopment costs. Section 3644-13 tells exactly the options for how to pay for it. And if there's insufficiency, we need to know that. Definitely. Also, because redevelopment constitutionally nearly always engages taxpayer-funded redevelopment costs, you must provide us thorough impact statements. And those come in the form of redevelopment plans. Redevelopment plans are detailed in Georgia Code 3644-7. You must propose this plan very publicly. And then there must be very public hearings that are very detailed to tell us exactly how you're going to do it. You must make these plans public. Let us comment on the facts, all the facts, but we haven't had a chance to do that, so that's related to that. As I conclude, with redevelopment desired throughout the county, the provisions of the Georgia Constitution and Georgia law protect our life, liberty, and property. They must be fully known, all of these things. With our county commissioners currently exempting ad valorem tax and giving pilot benefits to corporations in inducement contracts without referendums, we have some really big concerns, and that impacts all of us. We don't want to act contrary to Georgia Constitution, Article 7, Section 2, Paragraph 3. There are problems, and we're going to have to pay for them. Let's work together to defend all of our rights and avoid slipping on matters of constitutional rights and law to assist corporate interests bringing in jobs we might not need according to our unemployment rates, and maybe local investors wanting to make their fortunes at our expense. With all of these critical concerns, we ask for a unanimous no vote on annexation tied to redevelopment and continue researching all of these things to make sure our life, liberty, and property is protected. Thank you very much.
All right. Is there a motion to close the hearing?
One more.
One more?
I want the
State your name,
Marcus Tool,
address,
8 Crescent Avenue.
for or against.
I'm for, but I want to speak to a larger issue. If we were talking about bulldozing down Johnson Street and replacing it with high-density housing, there would not be this much opposition. If we were talking about bulldozing down Black Bottom for high-density housing that people could not afford, there would not be this much opposition. If we were talking about bulldozing down Whitesville to make room for high-density housing, there would not be this much opposition. Here's the situation. Obviously, City Council and the Bullitt County Board of Commissioners are under enormous pressure to zone away high-density housing. If both bodies make bad decisions on these kinds of things, what it would do to the cost of housing to low and middle income people will be spectacular. there'll be so much economic pressure because at previous meeting that we had, did I hear correctly, 15,000 new jobs coming to into our community?
1,400.
14,000.
1,400.
1,400, okay. Okay, that's better, but still.
Big zero.
Yes, it is a big zero. But there are a lot of people moving into our community, and they're talking, we're talking about just enormous growth. And if we don't provide housing, high-density housing, adequate for all those people, what will happen is that Johnson Street, Black Bottom, Whitesville, and neighborhoods like that will get bulldozed down and will be replaced with high-density housing because those people will not have the political wherewithal to defend themselves. And so I am not speaking to this project specifically. I am speaking to the larger issue. And so, thank you.
Thank you, Marcus.
All right. Are you adding anything new?
Yes, sir. I think so. My name is Bo Davis.
Okay.
I live in 303 Penguin Boulevard.
Okay, for or against?
I'm against. I completely can understand why the city has growth coming. But I also realize that if you go 3/4 of a mile down the road, cross over the bypass on Jones Mill Road, sits an entire tract of land that has already been developed. It's called Abbey Road. It has sat there unused for years. Why would we as a city annex property and invest money into it when less than, like I said, 3/4 of a mile down the road already sits a property that has everything? We don't need this. There's already property there ready to go inside the city. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Okay. The motion to close the hearing. Is there a second?
We do have a petition with people that have signed. Would you like that? My name's
Leah. Leah, state your name.
Okay.
I'm getting Leah's attention. She's
Cinda
our city clerk.
Okay, Cinda Davidson, 303 Penguin Boulevard.
Okay. How many names?
About 50.
You can have.
Give her a clip.
Thank you.
Do they live within the city? All 50 names live within the city?
Yes, we all are. We're in the neighborhood.
Within the city?
Yes.
Yeah, Bel Air is in the city. That's right. Okay. All right.
All those names are not city. Some of us live in the county.
Yeah, we gotta maintain order right now. So, with that being said, there's a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
All right. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we're gonna open it up for council discussion. It's an opportunity for council to engage in this conversation, and give us some input. And I do recognize, if I'm not mistaken, Councilwoman Bart Bel Air is your district.
Yes.
Okay, so do you wanna give us some insight in regards to any conversation or anything along those lines?
So first I'd like to clarify, it's already been decided tonight, we're voting on whether or not to annex this. And staff has asked us for direction about the process in the future. So those are the two items we're
Yeah,
discussing
we'll
right
worry
now.
about the staff direction later. Right now, we wanna focus on what's on the agenda.
Okay.
Anything?
Yeah.
I think I know just about everybody who probably signed that petition. Isn't this the old Parkersville?
Yes.
Yeah. For me and Stephen, you have to used to go fight after school, because you get to school.
Me too.
And, I don't understand why we weren't presented with a site plan and a rezoning request along with annexation. To vote for annexation, I haven't been shown anything that they want to put here except numbers. That's all I've heard. I think this is backwards. I'm sorry, not backwards. It's just that I think we should have, right after this annexation, we should have zoning vote.
Yes.
And since we don't have anything to vote on for zoning, And I don't wanna vote against this, but I will vote against it if y'all put it up to a vote. I just wanna vote, I just don't wanna vote on it. Give, the developers or the owners a chance to show something to us, to approve or not approve. I'm very big on, the numbers that I've seen. Something can go here, I don't know what it is, and I don't want to, keep anyone from being able to make money off this. But I also look out for the neighbors. I hope it doesn't come to a vote, but if it does, I'll vote no. That's it.
All right, council, any further discussion by council? Any additional insight needed?
So when will it go for zoning? If it is approved, when will we get it?
If council annexed the property tonight, it would then go back to the planning board, and the planning board would consider the zoning at its meeting the February 7th. Then it would come back to council on the 21st of February for you to consider all those zoning matters and whether the zoning is appropriate for that land as it relates to all the other property that's associated.
And I had a question for Kathy. Kathy, when you came up, did you say that you recommended approval of the annexation?
Yes,
of the
annexation.
Because I was confused. I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Susan.
Susan, I thought you said that it was
It was
denied.
not approved by your planning commission.
Okay.
Yeah, the planning board recommended, again, not to annex it. But
Or
again-
not to zone as
Ma'am,
well.
Ma'am, the planning board recommended not to annex the property. They were, but as a part of, since they were not recommending annexation, they did not bring forward a recommendation on the zoning. But again, I understand the concern. But again, you can't zone it until it's annexed. You can't zone it. And even if they had happened on the same night, and if the planning board had recommended annexation, and it came to you tonight, you could vote to annex it and still not approve the zoning.
Right.
You could recommend not to approve the zoning. And so, whereas citizens may have a concern that it's not gonna be transparent, if you annex it, nothing can still happen until it goes back through that process. And that's when their input and their concerns would be dealt with.
Okay. If I had to, I'm sorry, if I had to give my recommendation, it would be to annex it and then work with the developers, with the neighbors to see if something could come together that everybody could be happy. Because this could be a good thing for the city with all of the new developments that we have going on. So that would be my stance.
Any further?
My only comment about the annexation and then the rezone and I guess the development plan. Both the rezone and the development plan would need to go through public hearings, city council meetings, as well as planning and zoning, correct? So to give the residents, I'm just saying, to give that'll, so this idea that we're doing something behind the scenes or anything like that, that's a moot point. The second thing to consider is, you know, the property owner, if they want to annex into the city, that's, you know, we talk about freedom and rights of property. I mean, what about the rights of that property owner? They have a right to go into the city, and a lot of the folks that are here, and I'm not going to make any friends with by saying this, but you live in the county, and you know, we have to look out for the interests of the city, and if annexing a property into the city is in the best interest of the city, and it's in the best interest of that property owner that requested. Who are we to say that that's not their right as well? So I want to be clear, you know, I mean, yes, we can't be a close the door behind us kind of community. Oh, we live here now, nobody else can live here. I mean, that's not how we can operate as a people, and it's not how we operate as a community. So those are just my 2 cents.
Okay. Any further discussion by council?
Yeah, I would, I'm sorry,
If we vote on this and it gets denied, are they, will they, when would they be able to bring it back up again?
Okay.
Is it 6 months? If we vote against something.
I don't know if there is a clause on that for annexation. I know there is for rezoning, it's a 6 month, but I don't believe there is one on annexation, because we're dealing with, this is really, you know, it's the applicant and the city. So it's not like this sort of rezone where it affects others. So the annexation itself shouldn't affect.
Councilwoman Barr?
Yeah, so one of the points that was made, and I hear this all the time, like, why should we approve a new grocery store? Somebody should develop Winn-Dixie. We can't tell people what to do. We can't pick out and say, you should this, you should that. We get to respond to what people come and ask for. You know, we don't get to tell them what should be there, except through the policy and the zoning section, which we're working hard to update and make better.
Yeah, and you don't want government to do that. You don't want government to step in and say, you get to do the very freedoms, where's the young lady at? That was right here, the very freedoms that you're talking about, the constitutionalities, that apply to everyone. And so if you are a landowner, do you really want the government telling you what to do with your land? I don't. I don't want the government saying step in here. If you have ownership, that those rights, you should have the rights to that. But on the other side, I understand the nature of this product. And I understand the concern that the community members have. But what we have to understand is that freedom and constitutional rights apply to everybody in this room. And so that's what we have to abide by. And I apologize for interrupting, but I agree with wholeheartedly what you were saying.
Well, the other thing that I just wanted to make the comment, I appreciate people pointing out the benefits. Mr. Boyum did and other speakers have pointed out the benefits of redevelopment. Susan spoke to that. And I would love for us to reuse more property in the city. So I'm very open to somebody who has any background or expertise in that coming and advising us how we can help make that happen better. But in the meanwhile, y'all know I'm new at government. I just got elected 3 years ago. But my understanding from staff and the little bit that I know is that it's a good thing for a city to expand its boundaries. If somebody wants to be annexed, in general, it's a good thing to annex that property unless the property has so many problems that the city can't afford to help maintain it. So in general, it's a good thing to annex property. Somebody convince me otherwise.
And I think that the big issue is not about the annexation. They're concerned about the product that's going there.
Sure.
Right.
That's what they're concerned about, and rightly so. But the problem that we have tonight is that that's not what the decision is on the table. That's gonna have to come back through a rezoning and things of that, a rezoning conversation. What's on the table tonight is solely annexation. That's the only thing that's on the table tonight. And so with that being said, this is gonna, and I wanna understand this correctly, and staff, correct me if I'm wrong. If it's annexed in tonight, it's gotta go back to the planning commission. The planning commission then makes a decision as far as what the position on, as far as the rezoning is concerned, then it comes back to us for approval.
Right.
Is that correct?
Well, I mean, if I could like
Go ahead,
maybe define it a little bit differently.
Yeah, go ahead.
Annex is a separate issue, so nothing
Yeah.
goes back to, if the property owner annexes and they don't do nothing else, that's it, we're done.
Yeah.
So it's only if the property owner wants to develop that
Wants to
property
develop.
and wants to
Yeah,
annex.
right, yeah.
So we could.
Yeah, and what I would say to the property owner is this: listen to your neighbors, talk to them, find out what some good products are that can apply where it's profitable and it's a win-win for the entire community. That's what my thought process would be. Yes.
One other thing we need to clarify, maybe with Kenny, because somebody expressed this as a concern.
Go ahead.
That if they're asking to be annexed and the annex request says in order to develop blah, 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 if we accept annexation, we're not accepting the rest of that. We're only annexing them.
That's
And
annexation
they
is
come
the
in
only
as
thing.
R40. Everybody comes in as R40. So annex, that's it. And then, like Phil said, if they go back to the planning,
Yeah.
if they come to staff actually first with an application request
Right.
or rezoning request, then it goes through the whole process. And there'll be public hearings for that.
Yeah, oh yeah, and again, we want to be clear, there is public hearing in that process. I see. There is a public hearing, a part of that process. So if you want to come back out and be a part of that, I encourage you to do that. Come forward, come forward.
I appreciate you. I know this is out of order. I just wanted to ask a
We're gonna
question to the
use
city.
Use a point of privilege.
Well,
Yeah.
to the city attorney, because the way this, and that's what Sherry was bringing up, the way this is worded, it's annexation in order to develop a attached family residence. I would move that if you are going to annex it, which I'm totally against, because I think it should be a package deal, that this be reworded, because the way it's worded is confusing if it, because it says in order to, it's annexed in order to, so.
Simply an annexation.
And I agree that language does not need to be there.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, it's
It's a point
annexing
of
41
information.
acres, period. Yes, that's what's on the
Just
agenda.
an
One of the little technicalities,
Go right
the
ahead.
plat shows 36 acres, but we're talking about 41 acres. Where's the other 4 or 5 acres? They're not part of the
So-
plat.
Wetlands.
But
They're
they're,
Wetlands.
To be,
but it's not on the plat.
feel like
The
I'm-
plat says 36 and it shows
I
water.
confused them. Okay, all right, we, as a point of order, gonna yield the floor to Councilman Boyd.
to be clear, the 41 acres is just on the agenda. It's just background information. It is not part of the legal process. So the information you see on the agenda is just for our information. That is not part of the legal vote. When we annex it in, it gets annexed in at R40, that's it. There's no other attachments, nothing else is attached to it, other than the fact that that property is now in the city, correct?
That's it.
Yeah.
And then, if at R40, if somebody wanted to build at an R40 capacity, they could build.
Yeah.
And now, here's another thing to remember, just for information out there. When they do develop this property, they are gonna connect to city water. So for those over there who don't have connection to city water, or who've always wanted to get connected, and I know Marywood is one of those neighborhoods over there that doesn't have water.
Water,
They don't
very much on city water.
Or sewer, well, water and sewer, sorry, yes, so I mean, that property is gonna get both water and sewer, that extends opportunities into those adjacent properties. So, something to consider, but not something we have to consider with annexation, correct?
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, all right, and so, Mr. Penn, if you will, if you can give us some additional insight as well.
Well, Mayor, members of the council, and to the public, I do want to talk about a minute about annexation. In order for cities to survive and to thrive, they do have to grow. And the only way we can grow is through annexation. In some states, and Georgia's not one of them, they have what they call city-initiated annexations. And those are a lot more difficult because people don't like to be annexed against their own will. And in our case, basically what happens is if a property owner wants to come forward and wants to be a part of the city, that is our way of growing. And that's a part of our tax base. When we look at annexation, we look at whether it makes any sense for the city to annex that property or not. And in this case, you have property, whether it's 36 acres or 41 acres, that is contiguous, and that is a requirement. In order for it to be a part of the city, is to be contiguous. We can't just jump land and annex it into the city. So when we look at this property, the only thing our staff really can look at this point is the fact that this is 41 acres and it has a tax value, and that tax value will yield roughly $500 a year to the city of Statesboro. But at the same time, and that's in tax revenue, at the same time, what will it cost us to service that piece of property? One, because it's just undevelopable land, it really wouldn't cost us anything at this point. The only thing is, it's in the fire district, but if someone did something, we'd send our police cars out there. If we had a fire, we'd send our fire truck, but the fire truck's gonna go there anyway. And so without looking at potential development, it's hard to look at it as potential development. But from a purely professional standpoint, we do recommend the annexation. The annexation does not override the zoning piece. It would go back. It's a voluntary annexation, and that's the only way our city grows is in land mass is at this point, these voluntary annexations. Some statements were made that I do believe as the city manager, I think is really important to stress. I heard some statements about us spending money and borrowing money. Someone being annexed into the city, we're not gonna bond anything on this property. This property, if developed, is purely developed by private developers. The water and sewer that is run in that development, the city does not pay for that. The developer will pay for extension of that water and sewer. And now we may have to get a trunk line out there, but it may already be out there, but if not, and we would extend to a point, but all the water and sewer that's extended in that development will be paid for by the developer, not by the city of Statesboro. So just based on that, as a city manager, I would recommend to the council, John, that the property be annexed into the city. And that would be my recommendation to you.
Any further discussion by council?
Mr. Mayor, maybe we will just counter. Somebody made reference to decisions made behind closed doors. City of Statesboro does not do that. We're not allowed to legally, and we don't. The doors are always open when we have meetings. If we have executive session under law, deciding personnel. Otherwise, anybody who lives here is always free to come and attend these public meetings and be heard.
Yeah. The one thing I do want to say is this right here, is that I've been here, this is going in my 6th year. Phil, this is your 11th year, and John, this is 14th or 15th year. What's this for you? That's a lot. John's been here. One thing we pride ourselves on is transparency with the city of Statesboro. We put everything online. We make announcements in the newspaper. If you can go to my social media page. My phone number is probably one of the easiest phone numbers to get. I pick it up. We pride ourselves. We do town halls. I don't know of any administration that's done more town halls than us. And so we try to make ourselves available. If you can't come, get on Facebook. Dwayne Grice, Statesboro Herald, the Georgia Virtue. It's a whole host of folks that follow everything we do. And so with that being said, we pride ourselves on transparency, accessibility, all of those things. And we are from here. My family has been in this community 200 years. 200 years. I love this community. And I ran for mayor. And I'm not speaking on everybody else, but I ran for mayor because I love my community. And I will fight for it, and I've bled for it. And so this community, we're not going to do anything behind the people's back. And if you need access to us, please call us, email us, stop by. We're here for you. We serve at your will. So with that being said, and I know during this time period, these politics that you see on your Fox News and MSNBC, all of this, that ain't us. That's not us. We don't have anything to do with what these for-profit news agencies are dumping into the heads of the American people and got us thinking that we are each other's enemy when we are not. And so with that being said, we love y'all. We've shed tears up here for this community. And this is I'm gonna tell you, I can go out and these people are out picking up trash in neighborhoods, they're working with kids in neighborhoods. They are working with the people in this community. So with that being said, guys, just know we love y'all more than what y'all may even recognize. This is a labor of love for us. With that being said, there's a recommendation from staff. Is there a motion by council? Is there? I need to know what the motion is.
The motion is to annex the property
Okay.
with city manager recommendation.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
All right. With that being said, there's a vote to approve 4-1. And we'll move on to the next item. Everyone that's here for this item, come back for the zoning issue, because we still want to hear from you.
You can't today, are you?
We'll move down to agenda item 8, public hearing, consideration of motion to approve application SC 22-12, on 3 Bridgewater State Road LLC. That is special exception for to allow for an automobile service operator on property zone commercial on US Highway 80. Is there a motion to open the hearing? So moved. All those in favor? Aye.
Okay. The applicant requests a special exception in order to locate an automotive servicer as part of this development. The property is currently vacant, but is appropriately zoned for all other requested purposes. As per the included development plan, the applicant projects the inclusion of multiple restaurant types and additional retail space in the area. Although under the existing zoning, no specific automobile services are allowed without special exception. So we're here for that automobile services part of this. So the area outlined in red is the parcel in question. The area is shown on the future land use map to be between neighborhood center and a activity center / regional center. The current zoning is zoned CR, commercial retail, and that zoning doesn't allow for this automobile servicer, so that's why we need a special exception. Subject property is still undeveloped, and it's shown on the top left. The property to the south is shown on the bottom right. The property to the west, which shows Harbor Freight, is top left. And then the property to the southwest is shown on the bottom right. And so here is the site plan showing the automobile servicer on the right. And the others are restaurants, and then there's one retail structure in there as well. Staff does recommend approval of SC 22-12-03. If this petition is approved by the mayor and city council, it should be subject to the applicant's agreement to the following enumerated conditions. 1, approval of the special exception does not grant the right to develop on the property without adherence to the city code and approval by the Department of Planning and Development. 2, subdivision of this parcel should provide allowance for general automobile services for all associated parcels in the event of location alteration for this development. At the regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission on Tuesday, January 23rd, 2023, the Commission recommended approval of the special exception with conditions with a 6-0 vote. That is my presentation. Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Coach. Is there anyone here to speak for this request?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. It's a pleasure again to be before you. I am Steve Rushing. I'm an attorney here locally with Talby, Rushing, Snipes, Marsh, and Hodgen. And tonight I am representing the applicant, which is Branchwater Statesboro LLC, whose principal is Mr. Greg Edney. He's out of town tonight, could not be here. But the property is currently owned by Bel Air Estates Incorporated. After listing the property through Statesboro Properties with Mr. Nick Props, they reached an agreement to sell the property to the developer, Branchwater Development, LLC, who has been busy with it ever since. They are planning on developing all 6.8 acres of this property, and it is all presently zoned CR, commercial retail. And so the only reason we are here is as they've been working on this project for some time now, they've accumulated a nice list of commercial properties that have gone beyond even showing an interest here, and that is even signing some leases. We've got a Texas Roadhouse looking to go in the second site there that says large restaurant. That's what we're proposing for that. The one next to that, we're looking at a Popeyes with a drive-through. And then on either side of both of those restaurants are shops, retail type shops, and none of those require anything before you at this time. However, integral to this entire development is the property on the far end has been stated, where we are proposing a Valvoline quick oil lube and tune store. It's not a repair shop. We won't be having cars parked out there with repairs on them. It's kind of a drive-through, change your oil, check the lube, and you drive out the other end, and it's kind of basically will add to the neighborhood of commercial properties. It's already somewhat automobile design oriented. You've got a Parker station across the street that, of course, you can get gas, but you can't get your oil changed there. And of course, we've got Lowe's right across from this property, and of course, the store existing right next to it. That is the Harbor Freight. That's kind of where all this development started, and that brought this developer to town because it's already got some development started there. And when I say it's integral to the development, it's all part of a funding package. You know, they go to a funder, a bank, or a lending institution, and they got to present these leases as their means of paying them back. And this is one of those leases that is expected. And so that's what I mean by integral. Would the rest of it be developed if this doesn't happen? I don't know. But they tell me it is part of the funding. But the property is generally rectangular, as you see there. You're familiar with it. You probably, most of you, passed in front of it many times. It does back up to the Bel Air subdivision that you've heard from some of those parties tonight. However, we would be meeting all the buffer requirements that are in the ordinance. In addition to that, there's already some significant natural vegetation on the back. So basically, this development will be invisible from the parties living in the subdivision there. We assert that the standards of review for a special exception to allow this particular business are met by all the factors, and I think the staff did a wonderful job in pointing that out. I'll just mention the principal standard is the compatibility to the other uses, existing uses of nearby property and then the overall property. Again, the Parkers and the Lowe's and all the other retail stores are somewhat a lot of cars driving through those, and this is a type business that would just capture some of that car traffic. As far as a traffic warrant, even our developer is willing to look at that if it comes up in the when it comes down to developing this property. The staff does recommend approval with 2 conditions, and our developer is fine with both of those conditions. Let me clarify a little bit the second condition. The way this is worded, our application, it ends up involving the whole 6.8 acres. We're only looking to put the Valvoline store on the 1 acre to the far right, but you know, nothing has been engineered yet, and so if it got when they finally engineered it, had to move a little bit to fit all these in there, we wouldn't have to come back before you to add to the special exception. So, generally, that is where we're expecting it to go. So on behalf of the current owners, who are Bel Air Estates, Inc., and the developer, Branchwater Development, who will be the ultimate owner, we ask that you grant this application so we can do this project and get started on it as soon as we can. Here to answer any questions as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here to speak against the request? Seeing that there is none, is there a motion to close the hearing? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll open it up for council discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I'm concerned about it. We just approved something, a month ago down there in front of Olive Garden where we got an auto service place that wasn't zoned for that. It's zoned for retail, commercial retail, and we approved putting it in where you walk. If you walk in the walking trail, you're going to be looking at an auto service place now because we approved that exception. I don't have any objection to this particular Valvoline. Sounds like a well-known brand, but it's not zoned for this. That's why we have zoning, to protect neighborhoods and to designate what goes where. And that's why we're being asked to make a special exception. I don't really understand why we need to. So if the rest of you think we should, just because we like to support business and new business, then I would ask that we reword condition 2, Kathy, instead of it saying general automobile services for all associated parcels, it needs to say for any one. That we're not giving, because if we leave it like it is and we pass it, then we're saying we're making the exception for the whole 6 acres. So that needs to be reworded if we choose to approve it, right?
Well, really, it's just saying that, as the attorney explained, if that rectangle should have to move to where the Popeyes is, for instance, it wouldn't have to come back.
Right. I understand that's the intent, but that's not what it says.
Yeah, I think maybe a way to put it in there would be to say only one business on that parcel can be an exception. In other words, if we grant a exception to the whole parcel, what's to prevent them from putting 2 or 3 or 4 auto shops on
That's
there?
a good
Nothing.
point, yeah.
Right,
I'd
so, and I
certainly
think
be
that's to her point. So, if we can say, you can put, yes, we're zoning the whole thing, but you can only put 1 non-compliant business on there.
I think that's fine.
We're certainly fine with that,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's all we're looking is to put 1 store.
And I would add too, Councilwoman Barr, that the auto body designation where you have cars like sitting outside up on things like that, kind of like you do on some of these other ones on North Side, is a little different than like a Jiffy Lube or which is what I think this is gonna be.
Yeah.
Where you just don't have, I mean, they're open, they're closed, and then the cars go away. There's no clothes hanging around, cars hanging around. So my point in pointing that out is I think there are, because our ordinances are so old and the way we think about business, a Jiffy Lube is almost more like a convenience store than it is a car repair place. You see what I'm getting at? Because it's kind of an in and out. Hell, heck, you're in and out of that place quicker than you're in and out of Subway sometimes. So, not that there's anything wrong with Subway. I mean, don't sue me, Jared. So. But you see my point. I think there's just a lot of business falls in the gray areas, and this is one of those businesses that, I mean, I would not be in favor of putting a car lot there with cars and oil and all that kind of stuff sitting out right behind a neighborhood. But a Jiffy Lube is a little bit of a cleaner establishment. So.
Did I hear you say Texas Roadhouse?
Yeah, don't keep the kitchen.
She's new at the old thing.
So the change to the condition.
We need to have to make sure our council member make that motion, make that part of the motion. All right, so, is there a motion, from the council?
To close it? No, we did that. We did.
We already closed it.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead and make the motion, Sherry.
I was going to move that we deny. But if
Oh.
y'all wanted to go through, then somebody else needs to make a motion.
Oh, well, I'll make,
Bounce that away, Sherry.
yeah, right. I will make a motion to approve with the condition that only 1 non-compliant business can be on that 6.3 acres. Are you okay with that? Sure.
I approve that.
Motion.
Second.
Oh, I second, sorry.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, let's show that the agenda item is passed on a 4-1 vote. All right, we move down to agenda item 9, which is the public hearing and consideration for motion to approve application RZ 22-12-04. CFN Rentals request a zoning map amendment in order to amend a PUD and add an additional unit on a property located at Grove Circle, Stockyard Road. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, if you will.
Thank you, yes. You all have seen this PUD in the past, and you will recognize it. The applicant requests an amendment to the existing PUD on Starkyard Road in order to allow for the addition of a triplex to the property. Currently, this property has 8 units under construction after receiving approval of the original amendment under RZ 22-02-04. This property is an extension of the original Grove Circle development and will complete the development on this parcel. So this shows the location of the parcel, and what we're dealing with is that tail to the north of Grove Circle. The future land use map shows this to be in an established residential neighborhood, and the current zoning is for a PUD. The subject property is on the top left. Property to the north is on the bottom right. Property to the east, which is the old Julia P. Bryant School, is on the top left. And the property to the southeast is on the bottom right. And essentially, this was a PUD that was approved for 8 duplexes. And the request here is to change the last duplex to a triplex. And that's what this is showing. So they would need an amendment to the PUD in order to do that.
So we're just adding 1 unit?
We're adding 1 unit, that's correct, yeah. And, let me write my recommendation. Staff recommends approval of RZ 22-12-04. If this petition is approved by the mayor and city council, it should be subject to the applicant's agreement to the following enumerated conditions. 1, approval of the zoning map amendment does not grant the right to develop on the property. All construction must be reviewed and approved by the city. 2, although tree canopy requirements have been met by the already developed Grove Circle, the applicant must plant appropriately sized trees where available under the guidance of the Streets and Parks Superintendent. At the regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission on Tuesday, January 23rd, 2023, the commission recommended approval of the zoning map amendment and conditions with a 6-0 vote. That is my presentation, sir.
Thank you, Kathy. Is there anyone here to speak for this request?
My name is Joey Maxwell, Maxwell Reddick and Associates. Simply here just to answer any questions that you may have. Hopefully no opposition.
All right, thank you, Joey. Is there anyone here to speak against this request? All right, seeing that there's none, is there a motion to close the hearing? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're gonna open it up for council discussion. Sure.
It looks good, it makes sense, that little narrow triangle, nothing else would fit there, particularly if we can get some trees put back when they clear. But something I wrote over to look, and looking at the drawings, and I'm not clear about the new access, and whether is it gonna be part of that gated community? So people have to come in all the way from the front entrance? Tell me about how that's laid out, please.
They will actually access off Stockyard Road. In the figure here, there's a drive, there's 2 driveways, one on each end, and then a parking lot between the 2 drives, that fronts the house, the homes.
So there won't be, it's not gated, there won't be brick walls all the way down, it'll just
That's
be.
correct. There won't be brick walls all the way down. This will be actually exposed to the street. And just across the street at the school, that is also going to be developed by another developer. I believe it's been approved by the council for a tax credit, multifamily housing there.
Thank you.
Any further discussion from council? All right. Seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. We'll move down to agenda item 10, which is a public hearing and first reading of ordinance 2023-01, or ordinance amending section 2-85 of the Statesboro Code of Ordinances regarding membership of the Statesboro Business Commission. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Kane, if you'll give us some insight.
Mayor and Council, what you'll have before y'all today is the first reading of a proposed amendment to section 285 of the Code of Ordinances regarding the Statesboro Business Commission. Pursuant to discussion on December 20th, council made the directive to expand the membership of the commission from 7 members to 9 members, and also to remove the the nomination option for the Chamber of Commerce. Those are both before y'all today for first reading. So the question is to move forward to second reading.
All right, thank you. All right, is there anyone here to speak for this request? Is there anyone here to speak against? That sends a motion to close. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We want to open it up for council discussion. Any discussion by council? Seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve, to move forward for a second reading? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. We move down to agenda item 11, consideration of a motion to approve resolution 2023-02, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a Georgia Department of Transportation lighting agreement for the South Main Fairway Roundabout project.
Mr. Penny, if you would, Mayor and members of the council, this is a required process from DOT. Although we don't know exactly where the roundabout is going to actually be. This is for the lighting that would be involved, and what it does is it makes, it's an agreement we have to have with DOT, that once they make those improvements, pay for the lights and installation, that then we'll pay for the power that goes to those lights. And if for some reason we decide that we want to de-energize those lights, they could then come back on us and ask for all the money that was related to install that infrastructure, which is something we really just don't anticipate happening. But this is a beginning of that process for that development. And what tonight we recommend approval of the agreement and authorizing you to execute the agreement on behalf of the city.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Penny. Any discussion by council? Seeing that there's none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All right. We move down to agenda item 12, consideration of a motion to approve the acceptance of a recently awarded grant from the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee in the amount of $5,000 for the purchase of Narcan. Mr. Penny, any further approval? All right. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we move down to agenda item 13, consideration of a motion to approve a water sewer agreement with HS Bullock Holdings LLC for 39.05 acres located at 712 Elmer Phillips Drive in front of Highway 67. Mr. Penny.
Mayor, members of the council, this agreement, this property is outside the city limits. However, this agreement is related to the extension of water and sewer to those properties. This project actually came over from the county. The county approved the project, but it was contingent upon us providing water and sewer to that location. So as a part of this agreement, when that property becomes contiguous, it will be annexed into the city of Statesboro. So we recommend approval of the agreement.
Okay. Any discussion by council?
How do we ensure that that happens, these kind of agreements get executed long-term? And the reason I ask that is because I was under the impression that when we ran water and sewer and all that out 301, that, you know, that we were going to require people to sign on, and apparently that is not necessarily in the county agreement. So I'm just curious, how do we make sure that these things get executed down the road? When you're gone, when the mayor's gone, you know, this could be 8-10 years before this happens. Could be longer. It might not be, but see what I mean?
Yeah, it is a staff matter that they have to monitor, and as that property, as we extend the infrastructure,
right?
It is that's their responsibility, and the fact that you have a city clerk, that's the other role, is to keep up with those records and make sure that it comes before us when it gets in that area. Now, 20 years from now, I know exactly what you're saying. Somebody has to keep up with it. And that's a part of having good institutional knowledge to know that once you become contiguous, it needs to come into the city.
Sure, yeah. Well, and, you know, I would be concerned, I mean, no disrespect to Leah, but I would be concerned if our city clerk was managing, you know, that kind of information, because annexation is not exactly a clerk function, you know what I mean? I mean, sure, she has to do the announcing, but she doesn't deal with any of the other stuff outside of the announcement, so.
But she's a keeper of our record.
I mean, yeah, keep her the key for sure, so just curious, just don't like these things to slip through the cracks, and we're in a situation where in 10 years, our leadership is gonna look a lot different. And we've already seen a lot of transition in the past 5, so I'm just worried what's gonna happen, make sure that those things happen.
This is where longevity matters.
Yeah.
I think you just called me old there, but that's okay.
Not just you.
I think you called it a couple.
Mr. Mayor, could Mr. Kenny clarify for me, the agreement is that down the road when that happens, we're gonna annex them, or is the agreement about the terms under which we're providing the water and sewer?
It is both. Both. It's the terms under which we're providing these, and at a point when it becomes contiguous, it will be annexed.
And if I can add one more, they also have to go by the more stringent standards, whether they're county or city, so that way, Councilman Boyd, when they do come in, there's not that sort of issue with
The pipes are too small.
Yeah. So whichever's more strict, they gotta go by that.
Perfect.
I'm gonna exercise a point of privilege, state your name and.
My name's Brooks Stillwell. I'm the attorney and one of the principals in the developer. If I could respond to your question, which is a very good one. The agreement that the city uses, which is kind of a standard water and sewer agreement, says if you're outside the city and you become contiguous, then you have to annex. And it provides that that's binding on future owners of the property, and there's a requirement that you put a provision in your deed or your documents that makes it binding on them. Also, the water and sewer agreement is assignable to a future owner of the property, but only with the city's consent. The city, it provides that the city will approve that, but only if the developer agrees to abide by all the terms in the agreement. So the city gets a second bite at it when the new developer comes in.
Thank you. All right. Yeah. Extend thank you to the council for a point of privilege.
Thank you.
Any further discussion by council? All right, seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. We'll move down to agenda item 14, which is consideration of a motion to approve task order number 7, a stormwater master planning in the amount of $131,250 to Goodwin Mills and Kaywood for stream restoration engineering services. This project will be paid by Section 319H grant funds and stormwater utility operating revenue funds. Mr. Penny.
Mayor, I don't know that I can add a lot. You know, we applied for grants for the restoration of Little Lots Creek, and this is related to that. This is the engineering firm that will help us with ensuring that that is done correctly and all the engineering that's required. And so we recommend, and there's some matching funds that we have to pay for this work to occur. But we would recommend award this, of the approval of the contract for this task order.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Penny. Any further discussion or inquiries by council?
Yes, please, Mayor. Jason, is this the section right there at Jones Street?
Yes, ma'am, between Jones and Grady. It's Jones and East Grady Street.
Okay, yeah.
Councilwoman Moore?
Yeah, I'll make a motion we approve.
All right, all right, no other conversation. All right, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, let it show that agenda item 14 is passed. We move down to agenda item 15, consideration of a motion to approve purchase of a new Cat D3 LGP dozer for the Public Works and Engineering Department, Streets Division, in the amount of $202,602 from Yancey Brothers via Sourcewell contract. Funding will be from the 2019 SPLOST funds. Mr. Penny, any additional input for agenda item 15?
No, Mayor, the current, well, just this one point, the current dozer is 22 years old. So we've got good life out of it.
Okay.
Recommend approval.
All right, thank you. Any discussion by council?
No.
No.
The old, before we sell it.
Yeah. Hey, John, so the blue devil in me says, we might.
We are state. We are state.
With that being said, is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, we'll move to agenda item 16, other business from city council. Councilwoman Martin.
I don't have anything else to share tonight, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else from council? All right, good deal, good deal.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, happy New Year. Yeah, we'll move down to, city manager comments.
Just a few things. I did want to just mention, the business commission meeting. We have set the first business commission meeting for, January the 26th at 5:30 in the council chambers. I'm just making y'all aware.
Okay.
Moving forward with that. And the state of the city address is on February the 28th. And then, at the next work session, we've invited, the Statesboro Convention and Visitors Bureau to come and talk about, what they do, and also to talk about the hotel motel. And they will probably invite someone from DCA, and the Georgia Convention and Visitors Bureau to share information as well. So, and Ms. Boyd, I know it sort of goes back to, we warned them in December. Then I tried to get it for this time, but the time period was short. And so, February is when we could get it scheduled. So, just make you aware that they will be on the work session agenda for February.
Okay.
And let's see. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. All right, I do know we have, one person on our, public comment section. Marcus, I'm gonna actually hold 1 second, because I should have did this on the council business. We do have, 2 new interns, for the mayor's office, so Nalana and Kai, if y'all will stand up. All right, they're gonna be working with us this semester. We're super excited about having them on. You know, if you see them running down the street, I probably done made them pull their hair out like mine, so. But, we're super excited to have you guys on.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
All right.
you.
All right, so Marcus, if you will.
3 super short things. One, our executive director, Kathy Jenkins, reported a pothole to Public Works this morning on her way to work. And when she went home for lunch, it had already been filled. So kudos to our Public Works Department.
Hey, we got a team there.
Number 2, on the GIC program thing, I really want to point out, Justin Williams was not here today,
Yes.
but let me tell you, he is a worker bee, and that whole project would not have been nearly as successful as it was without his work on it.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And the third thing is I had reserved the spot because I planned to make my comments earlier now, so I'm not speaking to a specific project.
Yeah.
But what I wanted, but I felt I started hearing people saying, we'll redevelop other areas. And I really, the low-hanging fruit for if we don't allow for high-density housing in new ground, whether it's in Bullitt County and Statesboro, the low-hanging fruit politically will be to bulldoze down these neighborhoods that we're trying to revitalize or replace those neighborhoods with housing that those people can't afford. And so that's why I had to change when, because I was hearing that kind of stuff. But that is the big thing that we need to really keep on top of mind. I'm concerned. I think the county wants to do the right thing, but if they don't do the right thing, then it becomes really important that the city of Statesboro do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
And I'll say this, and if I'm wrong, council, let me know. But I think this council has really shown its commitment to preserving our older neighborhoods. I know a lot of us, we frequent the neighborhoods, we grew up in the neighborhoods, we live in the neighborhoods. And so I don't think it's missed on us. So we are astutely aware. And we're going to work to preserve, the neighborhoods that made us. That's what we got to stay focused on.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
which reminds me, in our first.
Told you we had an announcement.
Well, the FYI packet, right? So staff can clarify, we just wrote to Hickman asking for more help, there's no new information.
No, we met with them and asked for them to consider additional funding to help with housing rehabilitation, because the funding that we currently have, y'all have already set it for housing rehab, but we need more, because some of those houses are beyond repair. And so the state has, they have ARPA funds, and we would hope that they could reappropriate some of those funds to help us and other communities as well, not just us. But I was asking for us.
Yeah. Well, we clear on that. All right, with that being said, we'll go down to agenda item 19. Is there a need for 19?
We do need it.
Okay. All right, consideration of a motion to enter into executive session to discuss personnel matters, real estate, and in accordance with OCGA 50-14-3. Is there a vote to go into executive session?
So, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.